Hello and welcome to Game Changer. I'm Maryam Zia. Tonight we'll be talking about Pakistan's long-standing ties with UAE. We know that recently President of UAE, Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, visited Pakistan, and in his private visit he met with Prime Minister of Pakistan, Mohammad Shehbaz Sharif in Rahim Yar Khan. Both leaders discussed areas of collaboration, especially when we talk about economic ties between both the countries, and how both countries are going to be furthering these ties. When we talk about economic ties between both the countries, of course, we know that recently and in 2024, UAE signed a number of memorandum of understandings and is going to be investing over $25 billion in Pakistan over the period of next 5 years. In today's program, we will be talking about all these dimensions in which, of course, UAE is going to be investing, and in which there is, of course, there is need for more cooperation between both the countries. Both leaders also discussed about regional and global security issues of mutual interest. We know that more than 1 million Pakistanis reside in UAE, and they are contributing to UAE's economies. In today's program, we will be talking about historical ties of UAE and Pakistan and how these ties have evolved over time. To discuss this and more, we are joined in the studios by Mr. Sheharyar Khan, who is analyst. Welcome to the program. We are joined online by Mr. Baluch, who is former ambassador. Welcome to the program. And we are joined by former foreign policy analyst, Dr. Gul.i.Ayesha Bhatti. Welcome to the program. Mr. Baluch, let me start with you. Of course, when we talk about Pakistan's ties with UAE, it is historic relations because Pakistan is one of the few countries, one of the first countries that, of course, established diplomatic ties back in 1971 with UAE. Let's talk about how these ties have evolved over time.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. These are very important relationship that Pakistan has with the entire GCC countries. We have ideological affinity, we have cultural affinity, and of course, we have been partners in their development. In fact, when Dubai and all these Gulf countries, they just had started, and before their even oil boom, Pakistani people used to travel to Gulf countries. And I think for our audience and for all of us, the several countries have even kinship relationship with several tribes along the who live in Balochistan. So I think we have historical relationship with the Gulf countries, and we all know and recognize it that whatever we see today, Dubai, Qatar, Kuwait, and other places are hardworking, skilled and semi-skilled workers have really worked. They have actually, in fact, their blood and sweat is, and so in a way we are partners. But then, since UAE's formation as a one entity,
Right. We are unfortunately facing some technical difficulties. Let me take the discussion to the studios, Sheharyar. When we talk about Pakistan's ties with UAE, like Ambassador Saab also alluded to, that we share historical, of course, religious relations. But when we talk about this recent visit, this was private visit of a president of UAE, but still both leaders met and of course discussed areas of collaboration. In your opinion, what are the key outcomes of this meeting between the two leaders, and what are we looking forward to in terms of economic relations between Pakistan and UAE in 2025?
So, Maryam, when it comes to the trade relationship between Pakistan and UAE, the bilateral trade volume of the two countries stands at around $8 billion. And this time around, in this visit, it was also like stated, especially from the Pakistan side, that this trade volume can be increased threefolds. So both sides are basically eyeing that the true potential of this like trade volume could be around $24 billion. Now the key sectors that were discussed in terms of cooperation that the UAE is especially looking at Pakistan for. One of the key areas that was mentioned was mines and minerals, in which UAE has a lot of interest. Other than that, agriculture and agricultural produce. As we know that UAE imports 80% of its agricultural needs and like food security needs from neighboring countries. So that's like one area where there is a key potential and Pakistan holds a competitive edge in the region. Why? Because of its geographical proximity. The cost of production in Pakistan in terms of agriculture is quite low, and the distance between, the geographical distance between UAE and Pakistan is also like very small. So there's a huge potential in which the UAE under the SIFC framework is looking to invest in Pakistan, especially in the agricultural sector. And a lot of like produce in this sector can be produced in Pakistan and then exported to UAE. So that's like one area. And other than that, according to the latest needs and wants and according to the modern economic infrastructure, the Pakistan side also is looking for encouragement when it comes to UAE's investment in the tech sector, and especially this growing startups, architecture within Pakistan. So the UAE would be interested in investing in a lot of like Pakistani young startups established by young entrepreneurs.
Right, we will be talking about young startups as well, but let's talk about the pledge of $250 billion that UAE did in last year about its investment in Karachi port. How do you think that is going to be implemented in this year, and what kind of challenges we should be prepared for?
So when it comes to a lot of like MOUs that were signed in January 2024, that is when like this discussion basically started from. This is to increase Pakistan's capacity in the Karachi port into, it's basically the number of berths in the Karachi port that were increased with the support from the UAE government. So this basically builds the capacity of the port to handle more containers at the same given time. So this is an expansionary project in which the UAE is like supporting Pakistan in terms of its imports as well as increasing its exports to GCC countries. So that project is well underway. It will take some time for the completion, and as soon as that project is complete, it would increase Pakistan's or enhance Pakistan's capacity into making more exports into the GCC region.
Right, and Dr. Gul.i.Ayesha Bhatti, when we talk about economic and trade ties, of course transportation and minimizing transportation costs remains a key area. How do you think that Pakistan can leverage its geographical proximity with UAE to reduce transportation costs and enhance trade relations?
Thank you, Maryam. As my colleague was talking about the shipping trade agreement last year we signed between the Karachi port and Jebel Ali port, that is really interesting that it is going to create more and more economic harmony among both of the states, and that is the need of the time, especially if we take the example of Pakistan and the kind of problems Pakistan is facing economically. So these kind of stuff is important to deal with. And secondly, if we look into the Pakistan's geostrategic position, so Pakistan is trying to achieve more and more economic benefit as well as a strategic partnership among all the states, especially the neighborhood states. That is important. But we must understand one thing that is related to the security and peaceful neighborhood condition as well. If the Pakistan is facing terrorism and internal disturbance, especially among those regions where the trade is more important and where the connection is more important with the GCC country and with the neighborhood countries. So we have to look into that as well. And there is another thing I want to add, that is Pakistan, the diplomatic tie with the UAE, that is important. Although we have seen that throughout the history, UAE and the Pakistan have been working on the same grounds, whether it's the situation in the Middle East or in the Kashmir issue. In both specific these issues. Pakistanis have the same stance, just like the UAE. But we need to understand one thing, that is, the situation in the Pakistan, specifically the terrorism going on, and we are not able to get proper help and assistance from the our neighborhood countries. So we should have the strong stance with the Pakistan as well. And then there is another thing that is related to, uh, economic issue, as well as brotherhood element is there, and then their humanitarian assistance is there as well. And I think, $450 aid being provided by the UAE to the Pakistani government, and that is for the assistance of all those people living in Pakistan who have faced all kind of calamities, and then natural disasters, floods, and earthquakes. And I think since 2011, that this organization is working in Pakistan, that is being supported by the UAE, and there are hospitals being supported by the UAE, and they are working in Pakistan, and they are working in those regions where the people are most affected because of the climate issues, specifically the region of the Baluch and interior Sindh and KP. Yes, we
Right,
can
right.
say that.
That remains an important right. That remains an important aspect. But Mr. Jia Baruch, when we talk about UAE's support, we know that time and again UAE has supported Pakistan, especially in times of crises. How do you think? What kind of areas of collaboration should Pakistan be looking towards in this year, especially in terms of sustainable development goals, and also in terms of climate change, because this was one of the areas that was discussed in the recent meeting held between both the leaders?
Yeah, definitely. I think South-South cooperation is the framework under which I think we need to work with UAE, and climate change. Pakistan being one of the most affected countries, and UAE also strong stance towards helping mitigate the impacts of the climate change. So I think we should collaborate and cooperate with UAE, and could come up with alternative energy mitigation strategies. And I think what I was wondering, that where UAE has succeeded, why not to kind of use that as a point of kind of developing synergies with the UAE. They have done very well in tourism. They have done very well in investment. In fact, they have done very well in the real estate. So I think as we see in our long-term future of Gawada and many other upcoming zones along the CPAC, I think we should get UAE to also kind of join up with those projects. I think there was a thinking, I remember somewhere, a statement that
Exactly, especially
these
investment.
friendly countries, investment, yeah, exactly, in the export processing zones that will be established under the CPAC. I think we should get involved.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Special economic zones, of course, there is discussion going on about that. But Mr. Jia Baloch, I want your opinion on the fact that UAE has contributed as a mediator in several conflicts in the recent times. How do you see a Pakistan collaboration or partnership in terms of regional peace and stability? When we talk about, of course, both countries share some of the interests and common grounds on key issues or conflicts.
Definitely, I think it goes without saying that when you have close collaboration and cooperation, obviously the entire edifice of cooperation is underpinned by broad political understanding that we have it. In fact, we have a very common stance on major political issues. And UAE obviously has been very proactively, especially under its president, Prince Mohammed bin Mihan, and he has played larger than life role, starting from Middle East to Africa. So definitely, I think, and he has been very, very instrumental in mediation, and they have developed that expertise that, irrespective of their geographical size or demographic size, they have enlarged their diplomatic capacity.
Of course, that remains an important. Right, that remains an important aspect. But sure, you are coming back to collaboration in key sectors. Of course, energy remains an important sector in which both countries are planning to cooperate, and especially renewable energy. Can you tell us about some of the renewable energy initiatives that are needed at this point in time, and also how can Pakistan benefit from UAE-led investments?
So Maryam, like this question of yours like falls under the whole framework of Pakistan's mitigation strategies when it comes to climate change. A lot of like these projects are coming under the whole capacity building initiatives that Pakistan is looking for when it comes to diversifying its portfolio from thermal based power plants into more renewable based power generation. With thermal based power plants, the situation is that they basically run on furnace oil, and most of the oil, as you know, in Pakistan is imported, which has a huge toll on Pakistan's import bills as well. So with time, Pakistan has like more started and initiated more hydel power projects. Other than that, Pakistan is moving more towards solar and renewable energy projects as well, in which UAE has also demonstrated its willingness to invest and also support Pakistan in diversifying its energy mix as well. So that is like one area where Pakistan is looking to cooperate with the UAE. Other than that, there's like a lot of like support required when it comes to establishing more agricultural related support as well. And in that, UAE has the capacity or technological expertise in incorporating drip irrigation systems as well. So that supports.
And how can this contribute to Pakistan's energy security and economic stability? Because we know that a lot of investments in this regard is already planned. Can you tell us about the figures and what kind of initiatives or technological transfer is planned in this regard?
So Maryam, this is under the $10 billion investment framework that UAE has already signed with Pakistan. This was done in January 2024. So how does it help like Pakistan's agricultural sector as well? As we know, Pakistan has like very vast amounts of land that is available, and a lot of like its land is not arable as well. Pakistan has a very extensive irrigation system, which probably is one of the most extensive in South Asia. But obviously a lot more land can be utilized if Pakistan can get hold or incorporate technology which is more catered towards drip irrigation. Drip irrigation again is like very efficient, and it basically uses the water into irrigating vast farmlands in a very efficient manner. And that goes in the favor of both the UAE and Pakistan. And when we start producing more agricultural produce, there will be a lot more exports that can be done to the UAE. And the UAE can kind of like outsource their whole food needs or food security to Pakistan, and that would be an area where it would be mutually beneficial for both countries. So these are the projects that are mostly being discussed under this whole $10 billion framework.
Right, right. And Dr. Ayesha, when we talk about, of course, cooperation in different sectors, how significant is UAE's role in Pakistan's energy security? And let's talk about some of the joint initiatives that, in your opinion, are going to be implemented in this year.
Well, this is this is a high time to talk about these kind of energy security collaborations, because as we see that more and more we are facing that climate-related disasters. So we should move toward all those non-biodegradable cooperation and all those kind of initiatives that should be more and less harmful for the environment as well. So these kind of collaborations are like we just heard our colleagues saying talking about the $10 billion investment, and that is really interesting, and we should look forward to more and more collaboration. But there is another thing that is about the implementation. These kind of initiatives, like for example last year they signed 33 agreements on it related to various factors, various sectors and energy as well. But as far as the implementation is concerned, there are a lot of hindrances as well. There are it's a kind of a bureaucratic structure where things are really slow down, and we need to look into the implementation as well, because
About
we are
those,
signed.
right. Dr. Ayesha, let's talk about those bottlenecks that exist when we talk about, of course, cooperation and alignment in terms of energy cooperation and meeting the global climate energy goals or sustainable development goals. What are those bottlenecks, and what needs to be done to, of course, address those?
First of all, this is something we can call it the elephant in the room, and that is India. There should be more and more lobbying in UAE as well. There was a time that we enjoyed really a solo player inside the UAE and the Middle East, but now we have got India over there, and they have got their own interest. So they are definitely trying to slow down all those agreements, all those few potential agreements that are being signed among those especially the UAE and the Middle Eastern countries, because India is there, and we should so how we should be taking care of it. We should be going for the more and more lobbying inside the UAE. And there is another thing, that is the change of the government, the political instability inside of the Pakistan. Once the political instability is there, and every time once you are going to into an agreement and the government changes, so definitely it affects those agreements as well. And the third thing is, so definitely we need a stable political government, and so that they can take care of all these economic matters, because economic matters, our trade, our development is related to political instability, and states are not interested in signing the agreements and going into the collaboration with those states where they don't know the future, and the things are not clear in front of them. And then, like I said before, there is the situation in the Pakistan, the terrorism, and the new surge of this insurgency that is Pakistan is. We have been dealing with it, but we don't have that kind of strong support from, unfortunately, from our neighborhood countries. And that's what I was trying to say in my previous talk as well, that UAE and the Middle Eastern countries, they should understand that the problem of the terrorism or a troubled neighborhood can create trouble for them as well, because we are living in a region, we are closely associated to each other, so we cannot say that, okay, this is something we are facing in isolation and you are not going to face the heat. Definitely this surge is going to affect them as well. And so on these grounds, Pakistan should work with, Pakistan is ready to work, we are already and always ready to work with our neighborhood countries, but the other states, they should understand as well. So these are the things that we should look into it. Thank you.
Right, right. And Mr. G.R. Baluch, like you have heard the points that Dr. Ayesha raised. In your opinion, how do UAE sees Pakistan's significance in this region, and especially when we talk about bringing in investments and cooperation in key areas between both the countries?
Definitely, UAE is a kind of a global actor when it comes to investment, when it comes to tourism, even when it comes to telecommunication. So I think these are the kind of strong points that UAE system has evolved. And I think Pakistan does provide or offer UAE a very good investment in terms of size of the population. Infrastructure, of course, we are in the process of developing, but we do have it. I mean, it's there. Potentially, we have it. But I think the areas which have been now identified for cooperation, they are the ones which can kind of low-hanging fruits. That is mineral. I mean, we already have a lot of study done in several mines in Pakistan. Oil exploration, another very, I think, strength of UAE and system, that they have been there. Oil refining of oil. So I think probably there has been talk of inviting some of the UAE investors to invest near Port Qasim or near Gawada, oil refinery, establishment of oil refineries. In fact,
Mr. Baluch, we need to provide that conducive environment, and of course Pakistan is working on that, but like Dr. Ayesha alluded to the points regarding instability and terrorism, do you think there is need for building some kind of mechanisms in terms of counter-terrorism measures between both the countries so that we can expand the volume of trade between both the countries and enhance connectivity?
No, no, Maryam, this distorts the whole discussion. You see, UAE has a moral kind of authority when it comes to Afghanistan or the terrorism emanating from India, but involving the entire world in our this battle, which is essentially has to be fought by the Pakistani nation. So I think that is something which we have to take care of ourselves. Obviously, while assuring the potential investors that their investments are safe here. And of course, we do take them on board when we are dealing what kind of policies we are following, what kind of threats we have. We definitely do discuss with all our friendly countries, and I'm sure our leadership would be exchanging and sharing our threats and our responses. In fact, if at all you want to engage on the terrorism, they have to assure the investors that these are the threats and these are the kind of effective measures we are taking. And I think this is where some kind of exchange of views between Pakistan and UAE can take place. Beyond that, I'm not very sure that we need to really sort of such a precious time and effort that we already have, if we have at all, with the leadership of UAE and between UAE and Pakistan's leadership. They should sort of give them well-tailored, well-made, well-thought-out proposals, and they will be ready to take it. In fact, I was reading somewhere that these leaders, they say, you bring in a feasible project, we have the money. In fact, these UAE has one of the biggest sovereign funds. Kuwait has it, Saudi Arabia has it. What they look for is feasible proposals. So I think the homework has to be done back home here in different sectors. But I think most important is that the political leadership has to give the vision as to what are those major strategic areas where we need to collaborate and cooperate. And that has been already spelled out. Telecommunication, mining, agriculture, oil exploration.
Right, and when we talk about, of course, these sectors are important, and both countries have signed a memorandum of understanding for investments and cooperation in these sectors. But other than that, keeping in mind the historical context of relations between both the countries, like we know that Pakistan helped the launching of, or the rather development of, aviation industry of UAE. How do you think, what other non-traditional sectors can UAE help Pakistan in? Mr. Baluch?
Yeah, Maryam, see now, it's as a sad story that it was PIA which raised Emirate. Now, PIA cannot compete with it. Nonetheless, we still have the potential. I think one more cooperation that has not, none of us has mentioned, is the collaboration of training of UAE police officers, army officers, naval officers, and air force officers. I think there's the regular exchange of cadets which come to our military academy in Kakul, they come to our Air Force Academy, to our Naval Academy. So I think there's a huge scope for collaboration and cooperation. I think one more important, cooperation where we can explore is the space. I'm sure you must have heard that princess who heads the UAE space program, and I think they also, launched one explorer onto the other side of the moon. So I think space, exploration of space, outer space experimentation, outer space sciences, and of course, oceanology, that is the science of oceans, is an important like faculty of knowledge which we need to ourselves actually develop and have collaboration with these countries who actually are dependent on ocean. I mean, UAE is what? If you take out the ocean, What will be there? So I think these are kind of new, creative, out of the box solutions and
Right, of
areas
course,
where
these are very important non-traditional sectors that, of course, both countries needs to be focusing towards as well, in addition to the traditional sectors like mining, agriculture. Dr. Ayesha, when we talk about, of course, cooperation, we cannot forget the contribution of over 1.8 million Pakistanis that are working in UAE, and of course they are contributing to 5.5 billion in dollars in remittances. How do you think that Pakistan can utilize these Pakistanis in enhancing and strengthening bilateral ties, and like Mr. G.R. Baluch alluded to earlier, in non-traditional sectors and for further skills development?
That's an interesting factor, and we call it the people-to-people connection, and this is important. As we share a Muslim Brotherhood element with that that region as well with the UAE. So the adjustment of the Pakistani workers over there and the skilled workers, that's really easy for them and for the government over there as well, because that process is can be complicated if the working class that is coming from the other state and they are not ready to adjust in their host country. And as we have seen that the 5.5 billion dollars is a big amount they are sending to the Pakistan, but we have to understand one thing, that this diaspora living in the UAE, they are basically beneficial for the economy of the UAE as well, because they are the skilled worker and they are working over there. And we can easily say that they are working on cheaper rates over there, and yet they are sending a remittance to the Pakistan. That is definitely adding to the helping us to improve our economic situation as well. And yes, how can we improve that? We have seen that last year UAE revised the visa policies for the Pakistani as well, and they try to facilitate them more and more. That is really encouraging, and we should acknowledge it. And on the other hand, there are something we should look into, that is, there are a kind of a small group of people, and they are going from the Pakistan, and they are involved in some kind of that's kind of indecent activities that can harm the reputation of the state as well. So we should really look into that the people going over there, they should respect respect the dignity of the Pakistan as well as the UAE as well, so that
So, Dr. Ayesha, do you think some kind of initiatives are needed for upgradation of skills development of Pakistanis that are already working in UAE?
The Pakistani who are applying to go to the UAE, so they should be supported over here through the government of Pakistan, and they should be supported over once they go to the UAE, they should be supported over there as well via the UAE government. And we have seen so many stories about the living standard they are facing over there, and the hygienic circumstances they are facing. So UAE government, they should liquidate that the skilled worker, they are working for their economy, they should take care of their living style, their basic necessities. They are facing various issues, and we have seen so many stories, because there are a huge amount of Pakistanis, they are working in the Middle Eastern countries, in the UAE, and they are facing every kind of trouble over there that the state should look into.
Of course, and some kind of joint initiatives needed in that regard to protect the rights of these people who are contributing to economies of both the countries. Sheharyar, coming back to the subject that we were earlier discussing about the need for cooperation in digitization between Pakistan and UAE. Let's talk about some of the areas or sectors in which Pakistan and UAE can collaborate on, especially in terms of bringing in young minds.
So Maryam, this area that we discussed, in which you also mentioned the capacity building of the Karachi port. So in that there was also an area of digitization as well, and that was on improving the Pakistan's customs infrastructure. And that is one area where UAE was, because UAE again is a big port as well, and most of historical revenue generation that UAE has done is by making UAE a tax-free haven and a tax-free port as well. So a lot of capacity can be transferred from the UAE Port Authority to the Karachi Port Authority as well, and that basically relies mainly on the digitization of the Pakistan's customs infrastructure. So that is like one area where a lot of cooperation is taking place. Other than that, investing in Pakistan's startup infrastructure that is very vibrant and very young, and it's like mostly driven by the young people of Pakistan, and that is one area.
Let's talk about AI as well, because you know that the UAE is getting advanced technologies and very much ahead in AI. So what kind of initiatives can Pakistan and UAE collaborate on in terms of AI, which is the future?
So Maryam, like UAE obviously embraces all new technologies that are there in the world. And when it comes to digitization, they have incorporated the whole AI framework into digitization. So digitization basically goes ahead in like all governance infrastructures that are available in UAE, especially when it comes to
as well,
banking, finance, also government services as well. So a lot of like government services now are digitized. I would say over 80 to 90% of government infrastructure or like government governance structures, they are now digital in the UAE, and they have very effectively incorporated the whole AI into all of these governance related facilities that are provided to the citizens over there. So in that aspect, a lot of like AI is being used in customs and immigrations as well, and that is like one area where Pakistan and UAE are now cooperating as well, especially with the FIA and other customs related issues that were pending between UAE and Pakistan. They're also like now moving forward, and that technology is like being transferred to Pakistan. Their capacity is being increased. So these are the two areas where a lot of cooperation is taking place.
Right, and Mr. Baluch, when we talk about cooperation between both the countries and bringing it for foreign direct investments, how significant do you see the role of Special Investment Facilitation Council that was launched in June 2023 in further enhancing economic ties between Pakistan and UAE?
In fact, SIFC, since its inception, has shown a qualitative improvement in the what is called ease of doing business. Since it is kind of a one-window operation, and not only that, that processing of the applications of the potential investors, but I think it's also some kind of think tank now it has evolved into, where it like strategic projects are being discussed, sectors are being identified, particularly with reference to different potential investors. So I think SIFC, in terms of its priorities, I think CPAC is obviously the top of the agenda. Investment from the Gulf Cooperation Council countries is definitely among the top priority areas. So definitely SIFC has a very important, I think, role to play. And I think we should make sure that investors, because you know what, one thing we have to remember, that there's a competition. The money is, there are a lot of countries which like Pakistan, India, Indonesia, Malaysia, each one of the Turkey, everyone wants to have investment from these oil dollar rich countries. So we really have to have that competitive edge over others. Unless we show them that why should they invest, obviously the brotherhood is there, but I think more than brotherhood, any investor has to look at his investment interests. So we should make our offering so attractive for them that they should decide in favor of Pakistan. In fact, there are several.
Of course, that is very important to provide that optimal environment for the investors. But Mr. Baluch, when we talk about bringing in investments, how can Pakistan ensure that these investments, these critical investments in these areas, important areas like mining, agriculture, are utilized for long-term gains of the country rather than the short-term gains?
Definitely, it is like given that when you work out a proposal, and especially these big investments, say mining, they have a very long gestation period because of exploration, processing, and then the finished goods. So it's a whole process, and I think it spans some time in decades. I think it is in the scheme of things that these will be sustainable. But most important, when we are talking of sustainability, it is about our policy shifts. They must not shift. Once we make a decision as a government, as a state, that we'll give these concessions to such and such entities who are investing in Pakistan, that decision must be like 110% examined and then offered. That should not happen, that we offer, then we renege from there. And again, what happened with the Recotec? That a country we had to bear millions of dollars of penalty and a bad name in the world. That must not happen. And also, when you are an investment destination, your credibility is the most important currency that you will exchange against their dollars. So when they are considering, when they are examining various proposals, they say, how credible is the other party to whom we are investing? When they bring in millions of dollars, they need to be sure that the policies are permanent, that there's a consensus, and also that we have to show them that all these investments have the support of the people of Pakistan. That's very, very important. But that is the work which the political government has to do it, political leaders have to do it. So they have to really evolve a system of creating consensus among different provinces, different political parties, and different segments of the society.
Of course, that remains an important aspect, and also ensuring transparency remains very important when we talk about long-term investments. Dr. Ayesha, lastly, how do you see Pakistan's ties with UAE evolving over the next decade, keeping in mind the investments pledged by UAE in the next 5 years?
Well, Maryam, there are two kind of relations states enjoy. One is that they are on the bumpy ride. There are some years, and when they don't enjoy very good relation. There are some days when they enjoy good relation. It depends on the mutual collaboration. It depends on the mutual interest as well. But as well as the Pakistan-UAE relation is concerned, since 1971, we have seen that it's on the steady road. There are no ups and downs, there are no bumps, and they are enjoying their friendship, their mutual collaboration on the same steady flow. And I can expect that in the future they are going to follow the same smooth relation. Yet there are so many things they need to understand. They need to bring more and more collaboration while keeping the new circumstances in the mind. But yes, there is positivity, and there are more and more future collaborations, and I don't see much conflict among them, because on so many levels they are having the same style of dealing with the circumstances. Their agenda for the Middle East is the same. Pakistan is a big champion of the peace and prosperity, and Pakistan's agenda for the Middle East is the same, peace and prosperity for the whole region, and specifically for the Palestinians. And obviously UAE, being a strong country in the Middle East, is having the same understanding. And as far as the Kashmir is concerned, they are on the same ground, on the same page. We have always have the strong back from the UAE on Kashmir issue as well, despite the fact that India is trying to have more strong footing in the UAE. We should not ignore it. And then yes, as when we talk about the energy and the trade cooperation, we have seen since the decades, whenever there is Pakistan in the need of mutual collaboration, or Pakistan is facing any economic disparity, UAE is always there to help it. It's a big thing that once you put $2 billion in State Bank of Pakistan just to support Pakistan's economy. So that's the kind of mutual agreement Pakistan has been getting from the UAE, but both are on the same page, and future is bright, I believe.
Right. Thank you very much, Dr. Gul.i.Ayesha Bhatti, for joining us in today's program. Thank you very much, Mr. G.R. Baluch, for joining us in today's program. Thank you very much, Mr. Sheharyar Khan, for joining us in today's program. Of course, Pakistan's ties with UAE are based on trust, and of course, it has developed into strategic relationship over the time. But there is a need for both the countries to work towards translating these ties into economic partnership. That's all from Game Changer tonight. Take care. Allah Hafiz.